My stepkids claimed they only answer to their birth parents. So I switched out the locks, cut off every benefit under my name, and told their dad pickup was that night. No one said a word. Hey everyone. Welcome to Reddit Visuals. You know, I used to think love and patience could reach anyone, especially children. That if you just kept showing up and treated them with kindness, sooner or later they'd accept you. I found out the painful way that some people, even kids, see kindness as weakness and generosity as something they're owed. My name's Mark. I'm 42 and I've been married to my wife Jessica for 3 years. This is the story of the moment I finally defended myself and my family, and why sometimes the most caring thing you can do is enforce limits that actually matter. When Jessica and I tied the knot, we became a blended family. I brought my 2 children from my prior marriage, Emma, age 10, and Tyler, age 8. Jessica brought her 2 from her first marriage, Mason, 16, and Chloe, 14. Their father, David, lives about 20 minutes away and has them every other weekend. From the start, I worked to be the stepdad I'd wished for as a kid. I included Mason and Chloe in everything. Family game nights, planning trips, and even letting them help shape household rules. I covered their school expenses, sports gear, and drove them to activities the same way I did for Emma and Tyler. But respect works a certain way. You can't demand it, and you can't purchase it. The first warning sign showed up about 6 months after we'd moved in together. I asked Mason to help unload groceries from the car. Pretty basic, right? He looked me right in the eye and said, "You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you." Jessica overheard and told him to help anyway, which he did, but with such an attitude that it was obvious he only did it because his mom said so, not because he saw me as an authority in the house. I brushed it off. He's adjusting, I told myself. This is tough on him too. But it didn't improve. It only got worse. Mason and Chloe developed this habit of selective listening. They'd respond immediately when Jessica asked something, but when I gave the same request, they'd act like I hadn't spoken. Or they'd stare blankly and say, "I'll wait for Mom to tell me." The breaking point started forming in little ways, like when I'd make dinner for everyone, and Mason would ask Jessica if it was okay to eat what I cooked, or when Chloe left messes in shared spaces, and if I told her to clean them up, she'd reply, "My mom didn't tell me to." Then it began affecting my own children. Emma came to me in tears one day because Mason had taken her art supplies without asking. When she asked for them back, he told her, "Your dad doesn't make the rules here. Only real parents do." Real parents. Tyler even started asking why Mason and Chloe didn't have to listen to me the same way he did. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that some kids in the house live by different rules just because of DNA? I talked with Jessica about it many times. She'd sit Mason and Chloe down, they'd apologize, and things would go smoothly for a couple of days. Then right back to the same behavior. "They're still adjusting," Jessica would say. "Their dad puts these ideas of loyalty and blood family in their heads. Just give it time." But time wasn't fixing anything. It only made it worse, because Mason and Chloe were realizing they could ignore me without facing any real consequences. The moment that changed it all happened on a Thursday night in February. I'd had a rough day at work and came home to find Tyler crying in his room. When I asked what was wrong, he told me Mason had broken his favorite toy, a model airplane we'd built together, and when Tyler got upset, Mason told him, "Tell your dad to buy you a new one. That's all he's good for anyway." I found Mason on the couch playing video games like nothing had gone wrong. "Mason," I said, "we need to discuss what happened with Tyler's plane." He didn't even pause his game. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You smashed his model airplane, the one we built together." He shrugged. "Things break. This wasn't an accident. Tyler said you threw it against the wall when he wouldn't let you use his gaming headset." Mason finally looked at me, but his face was full of defiance. "Tyler's lying. And even if he's not, you're not my dad. I don't owe you anything." "You're living in my house," I said, trying to keep calm. "You're eating food I buy, using power I pay for, and you just destroyed something that belongs to my son. You absolutely do owe me an explanation." He laughed. "Your house? Mom pays rent too. Your son? Tyler isn't even my family. And you're just Mom's husband, not my parent. You don't make rules for me, and I don't answer to you." Something snapped in me then. Not rage exactly, but a cold clarity. He just told me where I stood in his eyes, and it wasn't only disrespectful, it was cruel. But instead of yelling, I nodded. All right, I said. I get it. Loud and clear. I left the room and went to my office. I pulled out my laptop and started listing everything in the house under my name or covered by my money. The mortgage, the bills, the internet, the cable, the family phone plan that included Mason and Chloe's lines, the car insurance covering Jessica's car, the one she drove them around in, the gym membership, the streaming services, even the gaming console Mason had been playing on. Then I started dialing numbers. I called our cell provider and removed Mason and Chloe's lines from the plan. I called the cable company and set a cancellation for the next day. I called the internet company and did the same. I reset passwords on all streaming accounts. Around 10 p.m., Jessica walked in. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Mason made it very clear tonight that I'm not his parent and he doesn't answer to me," I said, eyes still on the screen. "So I'm making sure he doesn't have to accept anything from someone who isn't his parent." Her face went pale. "Mark, what did you do?" "I'm removing Mason and Chloe from everything tied to my name or money. Their phones are already cut off. Internet and cable stop tomorrow. I'll also need David's address because I'll be dropping their stuff off this weekend." "You can't be serious." I looked at her. "Jessica, your son told me I'm just your husband, that I have no authority here, that my kids don't matter because they're not his blood. He's right. I'm not his dad. But that also means I'm not responsible for him." "They're just kids, Mark. They're still learning." "No," I interrupted. "Emma and Tyler are kids, and they've learned respect. Mason is 16, old enough to drive, old enough to work, old enough to grasp consequences. If he wants to act like I don't exist, then as far as his privileges go, I don't." The next day I put the plan into motion. I packed up Mason and Chloe's things, clothes, electronics, personal stuff, and loaded them into my truck. I changed the locks and made new keys for Jessica, Emma, Tyler, and me. When Jessica, Mason, and Chloe came home that afternoon and couldn't get inside, they called me. "Mark," Jessica said when I answered, "we can't get in." "I changed the locks," I said calmly. "Mason and Chloe's belongings are packed and ready to go to David's. You can't throw my kids out. I'm not doing this because they're yours. I'm doing it because they refuse to see me as someone with authority in my own home. If they won't respect the homeowner, they don't get to live here." Silence followed. "I'll be home in 20 minutes, I went on. "David can pick them up then, or you can take them yourself. But they're not coming back until they can treat me with basic respect." When I got home, David was already there. Jessica had called him and he'd rushed over. "This feels extreme for some teenage attitude," David said when he saw me. I met his eyes steadily. "David, if your son told you that you weren't his parent, that he didn't have to listen to you, and that your kids didn't matter, what would you do?" David was quiet for a moment. "I'd probably want to teach him a lesson." "That's exactly what I'm doing, teaching about respect and consequences." I turned to Mason and Chloe, who stood by Jessica's car, looking shocked. "I want you both to hear me," I said. "This isn't about me being cruel or spiteful. This is about respect. You've shown me with words and actions that I'm not your parent, and you don't answer to me. Fine, I accept that. But parents provide for their children. If I'm not your parent, then I don't owe you support." For the first time since I'd known him, Mason looked unsure. "You're really going to send us away? You told me I had no authority in my own home. You were right, but authority comes with responsibility. No authority means no responsibility." Chloe began to cry. "But where will we go?" "To your dad's," I said gently. "He's your parent. I'm just your mom's husband, remember?" I helped David load their bags into his car. As they got ready to leave, Mason looked at me. "What if we want to come back? Then you'll need to decide if you can treat me with the respect you show your father, because that's what I am here. A father figure who deserves basic respect." That night they left with David. At first, Jessica was furious. We had some very hard talks in the following days. She accused me of being heartless, of abandoning her kids, of putting pride over family, but I stood my ground. "Jessica, I love you, and I want to care for your children, but I can't love people who openly disrespect me and hurt my kids. Mason and Chloe need to understand that choices have consequences. and rejecting my authority means losing my support. Meanwhile, Emma and Tyler were like new children. The tension at home was gone overnight. They did homework willingly, helped with chores, and for the first time in months, they seemed at peace in their own home. A week later, David called me. "Mason and Chloe want to come back," he said. "They've been asking every day." "What's your take?" I asked. "I think they've learned something," David said. "Mason especially. He's been quiet, thoughtful. He realized respect isn't optional in a home. And Chloe, she misses her mom. She asked me to tell you she's sorry for being rude." I discussed it with Jessica, and we chose to let them return with conditions. When Mason and Chloe came back, I sat them down. "Before you move in again, I need to know you understand the rules of this house. I'm not asking you to call me Dad or love me like your father. I'm asking you to give me the same respect you'd give any adult who takes care of you." Mason nodded. "I understand, and I'm sorry about what I said about Tyler in the airplane. That was wrong." "I'm sorry for being disrespectful," Chloe whispered. "I didn't realize how much you do for us until it was gone." It wasn't perfect instantly. There were still tense moments, still old habits creeping in, but something fundamental shifted. Mason and Chloe learned that respect isn't reserved for blood. It's for those who care for you. 6 months later, Mason came to me with a math problem instead of waiting for Jessica. Chloe started saying thank you when I drove her to soccer. Small things, but they mattered. The true test came a year later when Mason wanted to go to a concert with friends. He came to Jessica and me together to ask. She said yes, but I raised concerns about the venue and the crowd. Instead of brushing me off or saying he didn't have to listen, Mason listened carefully and worked with me to find a compromise. That's when I knew we had finally become a family. Looking back, I don't regret changing those locks. Some called it extreme, but extreme moments call for clear action. Mason and Chloe had to learn that you can't enjoy family privileges without giving respect to everyone in it. My marriage with Jessica is stronger too. She saw I wouldn't be a doormat, but also that I wouldn't give up on her children. I chose to fight for a bond based on mutual respect, not one-sided duty. Emma and Tyler learned as well that respect is not negotiable in our home and that I will always stand up for them. As for David, he and I actually have a stronger bond now. He respects that I held his kids accountable, and I respect that he supported the lesson. So here it is. Sometimes love means drawing lines. Sometimes being a good parent or step-parent means being the bad guy for a while to teach something vital. Was I wrong to change the locks and send my stepkids away? Or was it the wake-up call they needed to understand respect and consequences? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to Reddit Visuals. We're building a community where respect matters and actions carry weight. Thanks for watching.